There's a cat named Oscar, who lives in a nursing home in Rhode Island. He's not particularly friendly, doesn't seek attention, mostly keeps to himself. But the staff noticed something disturbing. Every time Oscar curled up next to a patient and refused to leave, that patient died within 4 hours. Not sometimes. Every single time. Over 100 times. The nursing home now calls family members when Oscar chooses someone. They've learned to trust his accuracy more than their medical equipment, because somehow this cat knows. And he's not alone. Animals across species can detect death before it happens. Not days before, hours, sometimes minutes. And science is finally starting to understand how. When a body begins shutting down, it releases specific chemical compounds. Ketones, certain aldehydes, changes in carbon dioxide output. Most of these are completely undetectable to humans, but dogs have 300 million olfactory receptors. We have 6 million. They're not just smelling a different world, they're smelling a different timeline. They're detecting biological changes that happen before physical symptoms appear. A 2019 study trained dogs to identify chemical samples from deceased individuals. The dogs could distinguish between living and deceased samples with 95% accuracy. But here's what shocked researchers. The dogs could also identify samples from people who were hours away from death. Even when those people showed no outward signs of dying, the chemicals of death start before death arrives, and animals with sensitive enough noses can smell the process beginning. But it's not just smell. Animals are reading changes in behavior we don't consciously notice. Breathing patterns shift, heart rate becomes irregular, body temperature drops slightly, movement slow. Even the sound of someone's voice changes as oxygen levels fluctuate. Hospice dogs, trained to comfort dying patients, can pinpoint when death is 24 to 48 hours away, even in patients who seem stable. The dogs will suddenly refuse to leave someone's side. They'll rest their head on the person's lap, become unusually calm and still. One hospice nurse reported her therapy dog had never been wrong. When the dog settled in for the vigil, as staff called it, they knew to call the family. The dog was sensing a collection of micro-changes no human could consciously track, but together they formed a pattern. A signature, the signature of a body preparing to stop. Then there's a theory that sounds like science fiction but has real research behind it. The electromagnetic field theory. Every living body generates a weak electromagnetic field. Your heartbeat, your brain activity, your cellular processes, they all create electrical signals, and when someone is dying, that field changes. It weakens. The rhythm becomes erratic. Some researchers believe certain animals can detect these electromagnetic shifts. It would explain why animals sometimes react to death, even when they can't see or smell the person, even through walls, even when separated by distance. A 2017 study found that sharks and rays, which navigate using electromagnetic sensors, could detect the electromagnetic signature of dying fish from across a tank. The dying fish weren't bleeding, weren't moving differently, but something in their electrical output had changed, and the predators knew. If aquatic animals can sense this, why not land animals who've evolved alongside humans for thousands of years? Here's where it gets deeply uncomfortable. If animals can sense death in others, can they sense it in themselves? The evidence suggests yes. Elephants travel to specific locations before death. Cats hide in the final hours. Dogs who've been energetic their whole lives will suddenly seek out their owners, lie down beside them, and refuse to move, hours before any medical crisis occurs. A veterinarian shared a story about a dog who'd been perfectly healthy that morning. No symptoms. Normal exam the week before. The dog spent the entire afternoon sitting with each family member, one by one, resting his head in their laps, just being present. That night, he died of an undiagnosed heart condition. The family said it felt like he was saying goodbye. And maybe he was. Maybe he felt the electrical storm building in his chest, the chemical cascade beginning, and he knew what it meant. So what does this mean practically? Should you panic if your dog starts acting strange? No, animals react to lots of things: illness, anxiety, changes in routine. But if an animal who's normally independent suddenly becomes clingy, won't leave someone's side, shows that distinctive calm, still presence, it's worth paying attention to. Hospitals and hospice centers are starting to. Therapy animals are now part of end-of-life care teams, not just for comfort, but as an early warning system. Their behavior provides information that monitors and tests might miss. Because animals aren't guessing. They're not being mystical. They're detecting real, measurable biological changes that happen before the final moment. Changes we've only recently developed technology sensitive enough to measure. They've always known. We're just now learning to listen. Animals can sense death hours before it happens through a combination of chemical detection, behavioral observation, and possibly electromagnetic field changes. They're smelling the ketones and compounds released as the body shuts down. They're noticing the micro changes in breathing, temperature, and movement. They're detecting shifts in the electrical signature every living thing produces. And when all those signals align, they know. Not with fear, not with dread, just with certainty. That's why they become calm. That's why they stay close. They're not scared of death. They're acknowledging it, honoring it, being present for it. Oscar the cat doesn't curl up next to dying patients because he's morbid or strange. He does it because he senses a transition happening. And in his cat way, he's choosing to witness it, to not let that person be alone. Dogs who refuse to leave their owner's side in the final hours aren't being clingy. They're being loyal to the very end, sensing something we can't, staying for something we might not understand. Animals don't fear death the way we do. They sense it, acknowledge it, and often they choose to face it with presence rather than denial. Maybe that's not eerie. Maybe that's the most natural thing in the world. If you've experienced an animal sensing death, share your story below. And subscribe to IdeaSpark for more fascinating truth about how animals perceive the world we can't see.